Welcome back to Virtual Boy Wario Land. Sorry, that's just...
I forgot how terrible this sounds.
Again, nothing against Otaka, but I guess he was really just hitting the bong with this one.
Yeah.
Well, again, to give him some benefit of the doubt, probably when this came out, people thought this sounded great given what, sound chips could actually do back in the day. Like, okay, I'll give it this. It does sound better than the typical GBA stuff.
Well,
no.
I said the typical GBA stuff.
Honestly, for me, it's not so much the sound; it's more so the melody that annoys me.
I have heard a lot of. I have heard some of Tataka's other music. Like, I love the Wii Sports soundtrack.
Tataka's a great composer.
In general, Tataka is a very good composer.
Anyway, this is actually...
He's the guy that voices Yoshi, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we have the dragon hat from the first game. Okay. This is where the design of the game starts to get get a bit annoying, because the enemy placement can be... Okay, STO normally would say in our playthroughs, this game's idea of ramping up the difficulty is throwing everything in the kitchen sink at you. Because as we move along, the enemies are getting more numerous and more numerous and more numerous, and it gets to a point where it really becomes a bit cheap, because there's going to be a lot more...
This level was the point where I quit, because it's like, no, I'm done.
It's because, okay, it's hard to explain when you're not actually playing it, but you'll see, for now at least, trust me, the problems me and Edgy bring up will become more apparent as we go along. Alright, not to mention the level design in this particular level, I don't... in fact, I'll bring up about the level design, actually. I think I've talked about it. Oh, yeah. This is a new power-up. A little bird... Dragon thing.
Sure we've seen this power up before.
It's more of it looks more like an evolution, because Pedro touched the power up that was like the bird statue, and he had literally evolved. So I think that's what it's supposed to do.
It does look like that too, but that's not it. It's its own power up actually. It does look like it, but it's actually not. But yeah, if you press the jump button midair, it flies forward. So it's really it's, as you can see, it's basically the best power up in the game, really. So if you have it, be sure to hold on for it as much as you can.
I love how that one power-up can still do more than any one power-up in Balan Wonderworld can do.
In other news, water is wet. But,
Alright, Day, since we mentioned Balan Wonderworld.
Okay, we've already had an entire playthrough to rent about that.
Yeah.
Let me just finish what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay, here's my problem with the level design. Unlike the Game Boy Wario Land games, the level design in this game is not particularly memorable. A lot of the level design doesn't seem to have much rhyme or reason. There's not that much platforming, and there's not that many memorable set pieces, and there's hardly anything to distinguish the levels apart aside from aesthetics, So yeah, compared to the Game Boy games, the game is nowhere near as memorable. This is one of the more memorable ones, to its credit, though. Yeah, this is the water level, kind of. There's a current, and that's basically it. The other problem I have with this game, in terms of its levels, is actually the way the progression works. Unlike the Game Boy games, where you basically just get to the end of the goal and that's it, in this game, in order to open the goal, you need to find a key in the level. Here's the problem. As the game goes along, the locations of the keys become more and more obtuse, and a lot of times it really becomes it feels like the developers are trying their best to hide the key to make sure they pad out the game, because remember, this game is short as fuck, but it still cost full price back in the day, so obviously they had to find a way to artificially lengthen your playtime. And this is the best they could come up with, basically. You can't do like in the previous game where you can just go to the goal. No, you have to scour the level for this key that we hid in some kind of remote place. And
so,
yes, Deji?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Did this game come out after Wario Land 2?
After the first one.
Before.
After the first one. I'm mostly comparing it to the first one, because this is clearly a spiritual successor to the first game. Go on, Dej.
But for a game that is made on the Virtual Boy, which was basically the prototype 3DS, you'd think, hey, they should have probably re-released this on the 3DS Virtual Console or something. like a missed opportunity.
It's abundantly clear that Nintendo basically wants to pretend that this console never happened. Basically.
No. They acknowledge the Virtual Boy.
Okay.
They make fun of it, but
Here's the thing, Deji. Sakurai is one thing. Has anybody outside of Sakurai?
Sakurai. I'm talking about Tamagotchi life.
Luigi's Mansion 3 also has
yes.
Virtual Boy.
Okay. Point taken.
They do reference the Virtual Boy.
Okay, point taken.
They like to acknowledge it more than the Wii U, but still.
Okay, point taken. Which is weird because the Wii U was still more of a success than the Virtual Boy was.
I wonder how much of that is more so than trying to, I don't know, pay tribute to Gunpei Yokoi or something.
It also has to do with the fact that the only notable Virtual Boy game that most people seem to care about is this one. Aside from that, nobody really seems to care much about
it. So,
there was one other Virtual Boy game that everyone seems
but that's up to Atlus.
And then Wario climbed up the waterfall of blood.
Yeah, in order to climb this waterfall,
I was leading into something. Jules Watsham, the head of Atu, formerly known as Renegade Kid, aka the guys who made Mutant Muds, actually did pitch a remaster of Virtual Boy Wario Land that got turned down. Here it is. I posted in the chat.
Okay.
You sound so sad about that, Dej.
Initially I was, and then I played it, and then I'm like, oh.
Okay, let me go into it. Okay, this particular wall, you have to mash the jump button to climb it. And that's basically it. Like, there's not that much. Okay, this is one of those cases where, okay, and here's another treasure. The dress from the first Casper movie? Okay. Okay.
What's wrong, dude?
He recently saw the movie for the first time, and let's just say he wasn't keen.
It's fun to talk about.
Oh, it's one of
the score.
It's an interesting failure. He gave it like a 4, wasn't it, Dej?
Yeah, something like
that. Deji, question actually.
Yeah.
Since I think you also saw the series of Unfortunate Events movie, which was directed by the same guy. Did you notice any similarities between the two?
I feel the series of Unfortunate Events was more entertaining, so he improved.
This would be something that the team would later. This particular level of game, the currents. This would be something that this team would later perfect with Wario Land 2. In here, however, okay, it's not that it's bad, but yeah, like as you can see, there you go, it's done. And there you go. And as you can see, I still don't have the key. So since you're just exploring the level at random, because the levels are open-ended, there's not really any clear-cut linearity to them. A lot of times you're gonna have those moments like I did just now, where you'll find the goal, but you don't have a key, meaning you have to backtrack. So yeah, on a psychological level, it can be a bit frustrating where you find the goal before you find the key. So
I suppose one might argue that is the point of a challenge in looking.
Oh,
for
definitely.
something.
Oh, definitely. It's just that personally, I prefer the way the first game did it. To be honest with you.
Also, to be fair, didn't later Wario Land games kind of make it a bit harder to find certain ways to get certain paths? Now, granted, if you wanted to go out an easy way, yes, there was an easy way, but unfortunately, that would come at a Chaos Emerald. Unfortunately, that would come in.
Well, here's the thing: Wario Land 2
or Super Emerald, actually.
Super Emerald, yeah.
Every time you started a Wario Land 2 level, the object was very clear. The text opening crawl thingy will tell you exactly what you were supposed to do. The levels were very intuitively designed, so it was very easy. All of the alternate exits to the levels were, optional. So it's not. So of course, it made sense that those would be harder to find out because it was all about finding out the alternate storylines. In Wario Land 3 works better because the levels are better structured in the sense that you just have to go straight. The game always tells you where you can use each new item you get in Wario Land 3. So it's relative. I still have some issues with how it does it personally, but I'll get into it when we get to that game. But it works.
Wario Land 4.
I like Wario Land 4. I mean, it's different.
Yeah, me too.
It's different. It definitely tried something a bit more traditional, but it's so creative in its use of Japanese culture that it's really fun. And I also really love Good Feels Shake Dimension. It's my personal favorite of Good Feels games.
So I'm gonna throw.
You mean Wario Land Shake It?
Shake Dimension is the European name. Sorry, I'm used to that. The European name.
So I'm gonna throw a hot take for these games. They're good, but besides this one, I just don't agree with the opinion that they're better than 2D Mario games. Maybe New Super Mario Bros., but that's like low-hanging fruit.
I will argue.
I almost never heard that being thrown out in general.
And even
I've been seeing it a lot recently.
The only comparison is with WarioWare, obviously, but
Can kind of get what Dej means, though, in the sense that the Wario Land games are an acquired taste. That's not to say they're bad. It's just that
No, these are good, and I really like 2. That's why I beat it in one set.
One sitting. Trust me, that you really need to go back. You really need to go back and 100% it, because you haven't even seen the real ending yet. Because the more when you really get into the alternate paths to reach the alternate storylines, you really start to appreciate the incredible amount of effort the team put in that game, because for a Game Boy game to have that much content and all of it so really well designed is incredibly impressive. Like we've said in our commentary that we've made, it's, in my opinion, a Game Boy platforming masterpiece, if you ask me. Okay, I can kind of understand their argument if they're talking about Wario Land 2, because Wario Land 2 is definitely one of the all-time great Game Boy games. Definitely, that's not even. I think everybody will like. A lot of people prefer 3, but I personally prefer 2.
We'll say this. I think what frustrates me about the Wario Land series is it seemed like they had a nice, consistent thing going with 1 and 2. Then it just felt like they wanted to change stuff up because in 3.
I disagree. One and Virtual Boy are basically the same thing.
I think you mean 2 and 3.
And then they did something completely new with 2 and 3, which is a similar formula. And then with 4 and Shake It, they were basically doing that own formula.
No. I'm talking about overall, the story format and formula. I wasn't talking about strictly the gameplay.
Oh, okay.
It did feel like stuff got shook up here and there. Like, it seemed like Captain Syrup would be the recurring villain, but then, she didn't even show up in this game.
No.
Then after Wario Land 2, that was it. Then Wario Land 3 came about and stuff
Syrup
changed.
is
And then Wario Land 4 is like, okay, and don't get me wrong, I like Wario Land 4. It's just that it is such a departure from where we started at. And yes, I know that's kind of ironic.
It still carries
Hold
the
on. And yes, I do get that. That's ironic of me saying, given how technically Wario Land was Super Mario Land 3 back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
that's a subtitle.
No, it is. It is kind of a shame that the Wario Land series couldn't keep itself together for as long, because after Wario Land 4, we did get other Wario games here and there, and I do genuinely love Master of Disguise, but man, after Wario Land 4, aside from Shake It, we kind of just puttered out with the Wario Land series, and I do wonder if maybe that is because they were constantly changing stuff up come Wario Land 4.
Well, that's the thing. After Wario Land 4, the team disbanded and went on to do other things. Goodfield did pitch a Wario Land 5 to them, which became Shake It. After that, Goodfield went on to make Kirby's Epic Yarn and Yoshi's Woolly World, so I'm guessing there's apparently no one interested in particular in making a new Wario Land. I don't know, but
maybe they should get Way Forward.
Yeah, if
they get Way Forward, then they'll probably just replace Captain Syrup with Risky Boots.
I fucking hope not.
Well, Risky Boots is kind of Syrup already, so all they have to do is basically.
But it's still Shantae, and I want that far away from as possible.
All right.
Let's. Yes, I forgot. Shantae killed Deji's parents.
Yes. Anyway.
I feel like Capcom killed yours.
And pissed on them as she did so.
Okay, so. That being said, I can definitely understand, and as you can see, I'm still looking for that bloody key, because from this point on, you're seeing a blind run.
Also, there's a timer. We didn't mention that.
Don't worry. Yeah, well, to be fair, the game gives you way more time than you could possibly need.
Not
to be
just
fair,
there was also that disclaimer at the beginning because, again, probably Nintendo had a bit of self-awareness and thought, gee, maybe there will be at least some kind of eye strain if people play this thing for too long. Let's try to push things in managing so they don't have to play too much.
So what happens if you run out of time? Does Wario
You
just
die.
give up?
well, it's a typical timer in platformers of the day, Dwebs. If you time out, you die, basically. Sonic also had a timer. Mario had a timer. It was a common thing at the time.
Sonic would literally kill himself in some cases if you stood around for too long out of boredom.
Hey.
No, that was just one game.
Yeah, Sonic CD. But anyway, if they do bring back Wario Land, I would definitely love if they could maybe try to recreate what Wario Land 2 did, because that Wario Land 2 it was where the series peaked, if you ask me.
Much as me and Des may disagree about the Shantae series, I actually find it good. I do agree that Way Forward would probably be a pretty good company to be the one.
As someone who also loves Shantae, yes, I can also agree with that. But where was I gonna
dig a
go?
Shantae and Wario Land crossover too.
Sure, why not? It actually does fit, actually, so why not? But yeah. I definitely would love a return to Wario Land 2. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy Wario Land 3, but in terms of in terms of content, it was a step down, if you ask me, because because Wario Land 3 is good. Don't get me wrong, it's very good, but it doesn't have that wow factor that 2 had, because 2 was such an impressive feat on the Game Boy, and it had the alternate storylines, alternate endings. You could just find alternate storylines just by letting an alternate storyline by letting Wario sleep at the beginning of the game. Like it had such a cool sense of exploration and sense of discovery that no other game in the series had. And I really wish if Wario Land 5 were to be made, I really wish they would try to bring that back.
I wonder, were fans turned off by the non-linearity of Wario Land 2 at the time of the
Not really, Joe. Wario Land 2 is incredibly beloved. Both 2 and 3 are incredibly beloved. 3 especially.
I guess they really.
I can check Metacritic right now.
Wario Land 3 is widely regarded by fans, Joe, as one of the all-time great Game Boy Color games. So no, the people love Wario Land. That's not even a case.
No. I'm talking about Wario Land 2. Like, again, I'm trying to make heads or tails on why they may have changed stuff up the way they did when they went to Wario Land.
If you want me to theorize, I can theorize that. Okay, my theory is that they probably... Okay, I will get into more detail about this when we get to Wario Land 3. That's the one we're doing after this, everybody. Fuck. Yes. Okay. My guess is, Jova, they wanted to focus on quality over quantity. Okay. We blew our load in the previous game. Let's try not to do the same thing again, because we probably wouldn't have enough ideas. So I can understand that mentality. They didn't want to take yet another big risk, because they thought maybe they would be pushing their luck, maybe.
Yeah. Again, the thing I was asking was like if there was some fan backlash against Wario Land 2 for having all those different routes, and maybe at the time fans preferred it more straightforward.
Not that I'm aware. I mean, based on what I've seen everywhere online, people love Wario Land 2 and 3. So I never really.
Well, again, the question was...
I honestly don't know what the real opinion on 4 is, though.
Go on, Jova.
The question was a matter of if it was like that back in the day. I mean, not like now, obviously.
I don't know, Jova. I wouldn't be able to tell you. I had no internet at the time.
Again. Well, honestly, was the internet even really that used around the time of...
Well, yeah, but that's the point, Jova. Like, there was no real way for a Portuguese person like me to really tell. So
again. That's why my question was more of a hypothesis of or a hypothetical scenario for why they may have changed it. Or who knows? Maybe they just wanted to change it, or maybe you're right about how they felt that they blew their load. Again, I can still respect Wario Land 3. That said, though, a game like Wario Land 2, but done with modern resources nowadays.
The closest I can find you...
The closest thing we have to that is Shadow the Hedgehog.
The closest I can find you to a complaint Java, because I checked here, but it seems to confirm what Pedro just said. Critical acclaim and high scores from everywhere. Nintendo Life awarded the Virtual Console release 9 out of 10, arguing that big fans of the first game might lament Wario Land 2 sudden significant change in gameplay, but if you give it a try, you'll find that it's actually quite good.
Oh yeah, Wario Land. Not to mention,
It's better than the first one.
I personally really appreciate what they did with Wario Land 2 and 3 because that's where the series definitely separated itself from the Mario franchise and went on its own original path. Because while I do love Wario Land 1, it still definitely feels like Super Mario Land 3, which is why it's there in the subtitle. Whereas
it was literally called Super Mario Land.
It's basically reverse Mario Brothers.
Wario Land 2 is where the series officially found its own unique identity. So it really is so I can definitely see what the developers want, because remember, these were the developers who made Super Mario Land 1 and 2, so they've always wanted to diverge from what Miyamoto was doing with Mario. They've always go on, Dibs.
I think isn't like the only Wario related thing still going is WarioWare.
Right now, yeah, we only have WarioWare really.
Which a lot of people are realizing.
I love WarioWare as well. I mean, it's fine.
I like WarioWare. From what I've heard, the latest WarioWare game is
I feel it's one of those. Why can't we have both?
Oh, definitely. I would love to have both as well, but at the same time, I'm not going to give WarioWare any crap for it.
It's owned by different developers anyway.
Yeah.
It's like when people were giving Mario and Luigi crap, thinking that was the reason Paper Mario was going.
Speaking of things back...
To be fair, in an interview with Color Splash, they did say, well, we figured since Mario and Luigi's the RPG series, people wouldn't want two RPGs.
Why did that age badly? Because now my beloved Mario and Luigi series is dead, while Paper Mario is the one that's alive.
But it's not an RPG anymore.
Hey, Joby, you want to talk about now that one I can tell you. You want to talk about a game that that also had a similar thing, like Luigi's Mansion. When it first came out, was received with a bit of anxiety because people were expecting a Mario game over a Luigi spin-off game. So that game actually did kind of have that thing where people didn't give it as much of a chance as they would have normally. Which is why I took it.
They were like,
no, that's what I was about to get into that. Yeah, fortunately, when Next Level Games remade it for the 3DS, people actually that's when the game finally hit its stride, and then we got the sequel, then we got 3, which is the best game in the series. So fine by me.
Did the sequel come out before the remake?
Did it?
Yeah.
Right. You're right. Yeah. Okay then.
And I remember everyone was annoyed. It's like, why would you remake this on the 3DS on the Switch? And then later that year, they revealed for it's like, that explains it.
Oh, and now Wario is cosplaying as the Welsh Dragon.
Yes, basically.
But yeah, you know what I've realized?
Go on.
Wario Land 2 is essentially the Mario's equivalent to Shadow the Hedgehog. Like, it's the spin-off about the arch-rival, now playable. You can do numerous amounts of different endings by doing certain tasks here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much is that.
Yeah. Wario Land 2 is still to this day one of my favorite Game Boy games, just because it's so good. Like, seriously, especially when you 100%, you really have to go back and 100% that, because trust me, the more you play that game, the more you appreciate the incredible amount of content they put in there just because they could.
Let me put it like this: for as much as I do like Wario Land 3, 4, and Master of Disguise, I do feel like the series truly did peak with 2.
It really is a game that, again, you can check out commentary for it. Like, we had a blast commentating on that game, because that game is not even the cutscenes. Like, we were talking about the whole syrup thing. Like, the story, what little there is in this series, was that it's also at its best in 2 hour longer, because the cutscenes have so much personality for even with the little screen time they have. With the third Mook who always walks slower than the others and everything.
It used to be in Mario spin-offs.
I'm sorry, Dej, could you repeat that?
I said Captain Syrup used to be in Mario spin-offs.
Oh, I see, Dej.
No, wait, because it'll be cool to see more Wario content and Mario spin-offs instead of just being relegated to, put her in Mario Kart or Party instead of being Yeah, that doesn't exist.
You know, yeah, they could start bringing more Wario Land and DK characters into the mix, honestly.
Like they do with DKC sometimes, especially during the Wii era. But
It's true, Bob, that it's a bit schizophrenic, because sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Again, I guess because of the popularity of Odyssey, we might get a good chance to have Pauline show up more in stuff like Mario Kart. We'll have to see.
Oh, yeah.
She's already shown up everywhere else. God
I'm
bless them for that.
I'm pretty
yeah, so it's just like
Don't worry, too. I'm pretty confident she's.
we need more and female antagonists in the series.
Oh, definitely. Don't worry, too. I'm pretty confident she's a shoo-in for Mario Kart 9.
Who,
Whenever
Captain
that
Syrup
happens,
or Pauline?
please.
Pauline.
Please.
Oh, we
get
get Baby
please.
Pauline and then Baby Metal Pauline.
No. Tio. Gold, platinum, baby metal Pauline.
Indeed.
Anyway, but you know.
All right. Anyway, we were talking about it, so let me just mention one particular bit of where the game really screwed me over. There, basically, I was right in the little hole where I couldn't go, and right above me was one of those little, flying things with the big nose thing, and I was literally stuck between it and a wall. So yeah, like and the game spawned me in that after so it really was a case of like
Dickery.
the checkpoint system could have been a bit better. But aside from that, yeah. But yeah, like I was saying, my problem with these levels is they kind of blend in together when you actually start to go through all the entire game, really. Like, there's not that much. Okay, we had that waterfall thing. I will grant that waterfall bit. That waterfall bit did make that level more unique. But this one, I don't know, like the whole sand. They don't do that much with the sand. It's just like kind of.
Imagine playing it the way it was intended. Having the straining eyes, having everything like this, but bright, intense blood red.
Oh, definitely.
I wonder, could it be that the level design isn't the most intricate for what I like to refer to as the Kinect effect? Like, bear with me. I wonder if the reason they made it like that was because of, the fact that, the eye strain and the way the system showed up would make the graphics seem a bit, more, how to put it, let's call it taxing and overwhelming. So to compensate, they had to, lessen the level design. It's like how with a lot of Kinect games, any Kinect game that tried to be, the same form as a more complex one done with a controller.
Like Rise Son of Rome?
Had to simplify stuff. Yes, it's exactly like Rise Son of Rome. Like, playing that with a controller, you feel that it's very simplified. And there's a reason for that. It was made with the Kinect in mind.
Yep. It was originally Kinect exclusive.
I would not be surprised if the main reason that this is a bit simplified by nature was because of how the Virtual Boy was.
Yeah, I can definitely side with Jova's theory. That is incredibly plausible.
All right,
See
then.
what's next to come then later on.
All right, everybody.
Yeah.
Next time we fight, I think the second boss, if I remember correctly. See you then.
Yeah, see ya.
Yeah.